Ready.
Welcome, everybody. This is our very first episode of What Women Want, a show about exactly what it sounds. I'm here today with Anu. She's a psychic strategist and a tarot card reader. How are you doing today, Anu?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing fantastic. Oh, yeah, my name's Kevin Shin. Welcome. So,
Hi, Kevin.
thank you so much for being here, Anu. This is our very first episode. I'm really excited to have you here. We'd love to hear about your life and your experience in modern dating. So could you tell us just a little bit about yourself right off the bat?
Well, okay. My name is Anu, and I have been dating for a lot of years. So I'm a very, very good person to talk to about this. I've recently been dating quite a bit in New York, so the dating scene is pretty cutthroat over here. Yeah. Um, it's been a whole wide range of experiences, and I've also, had some like everything from shorter flings to longer relationships. But yeah, it's been an interesting experience out here. And even like my own goals with dating have changed and evolved after, quite a bit of just like different experiences. And also with the work that I do too, just like talking to people about what they're going through with their dating experiences. And like, it's a whole, big, like complex world to navigate within the dating world. So
Yeah, tell us about it. So I feel like a really good jump off point there is you said that your goals around dating have changed. What were they before and what are they now?
yeah, like I feel like as we mature and grow and age and our ideas about the world are also changing, like our goals change because a lot of us think that we're going to be like married and like starting to think about kids by the time we're turning 30, for example. Well, I feel like that has changed for a lot of people as we're not even necessarily like having these really deep, powerful connections right now. We're like a lot of us of our generation are super motivated on, you know, financial and personal goals and wellness and where do relationships even fit into that? Like it takes a lot right now to compromise who we are individually after we've done so much work to grow and become who we are to then like merge with another person. And so my goals right now, I would say, have changed because I really was looking for a life partner for so many years and I was open to marriage and I had partners that I would have, you know, gotten married to. And in recent years, my goals are have more shifted towards like I'm not necessarily thinking about marriage or children at this point in my life. I'm just like, but I would only date people who, like, at this point in my life, I wouldn't meet somebody who wasn't into having kids, um, or I wouldn't want to like progress with that person necessarily. So that part hasn't changed, but just in general, what I'm looking for, I'm being more experimental and like thinking about what kind of partner I really want for my life. And it doesn't really matter about the love or how much passion that there is between us or anything. Like I really value now like goals. I dated a lot of
Totally.
hippies for a long time. I was traveling, I've lived a very fluid lifestyle. And now my lifestyle is shifting a bit to something more like direct and serious. And so I would say like I'm looking for somebody who at least is highly motivated and somebody who can inspire me is somebody who like turns me on these days.
I love that. So it sounds like you went from this place of more like the traditional model of like, let's just say, I need a partner to complete me, to make it through this life. And now you've grown into this place where you're like, I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need somebody else for shit. So I just want somebody who aligns with my life so that we can build together.
Exactly. And
Beautiful.
everything else, if you're going too deep into it, is kind of a waste of time if it's not really like clicking. So I
Hmm.
feel like people are way more likely to cut people off like in their 30s or just like not even engage in the first place. So it's very like strategic in terms of you know, like you want to obviously be pretty direct up front about what you're looking for, kind of, but also be very like, yeah, I don't know. You just never you don't know what to expect actually. It's a
So
whole wide range of things, but we have to stay true to our own values. I think that's very important.
100%. Tell us about the click effect. You said it has to click. So you mentioned some stuff about, having goals really turned me on. I don't like guys who sit around and play video games all day. What
Absolutely not.
what is that kind of click, and maybe even give us some examples of some of these dates that you've been on where you're like, it just happened. I'm feeling it now.
Okay. So like a click, well, I guess I'll back up and describe how I see like a good solid relationship should be compatible on, well, we have like multiple levels that of like human experience that make us like that like fulfill us as people. But I like to kind of bring them to the four like aspects of being, or people, you know, it could be mind, body, spirit. I like mind, body, spirit. So that's mental, physical, and spiritual. And then an emotional connection is all very important. So these are like the four pillars as I see it of like how, and like if you met somebody, you could say, okay, like I'm extremely attracted to them. Like our conversation is okay. The intellectual connection is like not quite there. You know, and you would look at these other levels. And if somebody has a little bit of all four, like you could say that's kind of a yes to progress and see like how things are going. But I feel like, yeah, people, it's really hard to make it past the second date because you realize how many like incompatibilities that you have, like aside from the, you know, like attraction factor, or sometimes you're not even sure like about the attraction factor, and then you date again and then you're like, okay, maybe it's kind of friendly, maybe there's not that much chemistry. So and then what's the second part of that question?
So it sounds like to get like a first date, you need some level of baseline intelligence around your mentals, your emotionals, your physicals, and your spirituals,
Yeah.
right? If you're a dumbass who can't hold a conversation, you're not going to get that first date. If you're clearly frustrated about something and you can't express that, then you're not going to get the first date. If you've never believed in something outside of yourself or set foot in the gym, you know, not necessarily the gym, but like you don't exercise at all, you're not going to get that first date. And then to go past the second date, there's got to be a level of like specific compatibility with the person that you went on the first date with. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yeah, I always joke because like I'm a very personable person, so I could literally chat up a brick wall. Like, so I'm
You
actually like
could. You certainly
I
could.
confuse a lot of people on dates because like I just went on a date with a guy yesterday who like he was so neutral and like he wasn't smiling. He was very like kind of boring, honestly, but I just, you know, filled the space. I talked, whatever. He had a great time on the date. He told me like, "Oh, it was so nice meeting you. I really liked you." And I was thinking like, you gave me hardly any indication that you were like even enjoying. And I was honestly kind of bored, but I was like, yeah, I'll see you again. But honestly, I'm pretty sure the second date is gonna do it in for me. I'll go for the company and for like just to see. And he's a really nice guy. So that's something that I would give a second chance to, somebody with a genuine qualities, you know?
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
tell us more about who's the guy who gets the third date? What's he like?
Okay, the guy that gets the third date has, first of all, done a lot of like gentlemanly things or like impressed me in some way. You know, and every girl is unique. So things that impress me might not impress, you know, somebody else to
Totally.
that extent.
And thank you for saying that. But
Yeah.
let's focus on to the degree that we can't speak on other
Okay.
people. What impresses you?
All right, fine. What impresses me, I would say definitely like if you're willing to, first of all, like take me to a really nice place. I value a lot of nice things. I like, and I think in general, it's good to like go a little bit above of what you think that the person might be expecting because it's always nice. Like you should always be a little bit like more what do you call it, overdressed than underdressed if you want to be impressive in a situation. So first of all, a guy would come and probably be looking better than me. That would impress me first of all. If I was like, wow, I kind of put this together because I didn't really know about this, but this guy's wearing, like, the one guy showed up to my date with an Armani suit and like everything was Armani. Like I was like, wow, that's nice. I love this fabric. I was like very complimenting. I'm like, and he was pretty attractive too, but the whole outfit made him more attractive. So that guy got a second date. We went out on a second date. It was a lot of fun. I would go out on a third date with him for sure, just because he was a gentleman the whole time. There was like something a little bit weird at the end of the night, but
What is
it wasn't that
tell
big
us
of a
about
deal.
those two things. Tell what break down what it means to be a gentleman slash like what he did that was gentlemanly, and tell us about what happened at the end of the night.
Okay, so first of all, he paid for everything. It's kind of a standard in New York. I've also been out with guys around the world that like didn't quite get that. But like, so he paid for everything. He took us to really nice places. Like, instead of kind of like trying to reason with me about what I wanted, he like asked me what I wanted, and I sent him something, and he like immediately bought tickets to the thing. Well, he didn't immediately. I kind of was like, should we get tickets together? And just like, and then he was like, I'll look them up. I'll get them this afternoon when I'm like in the middle of my work day or whatever. So that was hot. So then he got us the tickets. I would see him again, even though he did send me a text saying a few days later, like, I think you're looking for something more serious, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, that's a nice text. It's a courtesy text, but it's also like he misread my energy. So that gets to the other part, like what happened that like did turn me off at the end of the night. He was supposed to bring me back to my house and drop me off, but I ended up driving my own car because I didn't I had like a couple of drinks that night. So I thought he was gonna DD and drop me off, but then I invited him in, which I also like shouldn't have done. So we were like hanging out in my room. I told him before, I'm like, I don't know if I should bring you in here. Like, we're just hanging out. I'm not. So anyway, I think he got kind of offended because I wasn't open to more sexually on our second date. And that's something that honestly, that's like a huge thing for me because I have a very open energy. I feel very sexually open, but I'm actually pretty cutthroat reserved on certain levels. Like, if you're not touching me right or doing the right things, I will be like, it's not working for me, like, and also, so anyway, I think he was a little offended, and that's something that I'm always like annoyed about with guys, and something that is a turnoff for me. If on the first date, if I express to you or on the second date, whatever, at any point really, if I express a boundary and you seem to get an edge about it, like, oh, she doesn't like me. I think a lot of guys like think that they're like, oh, she's not hot for me. So, and when really it's all about the approach. Like, a guy could be technically so hot, but he's doing these little annoying things, like trying to tickle me and stuff. I'm like, that's not fucking cute. Like, that's literally like, I'm sorry, like, it's like 13-year-old behavior, like none of that. So, it's all about the approach, I feel like. But some people have turned me off by being too eager about the sexual stuff too early on.
Okay.
It
Okay.
shows desperation. It shows
Let's
desperation and insecurity.
let's get serious. Let's break this down. So you talked about leadership, very powerful, right? And I would go as far
Yes.
as to say, correct me if I'm wrong, that it's less about like the, oh my God, spend money on me, and more about, hey, dude, you're creating this space. You asked me out on a date. So like, take care of me, lead the way,
Yeah.
right? Okay, perfect. So there's,
Lead the way, be magical. Like, and on that note, it's also really nice if you can offer specific um places to like offer specific suggestions. The one thing that I did appreciate is one guy like sent me a couple of options, and one of them was kind of like casual looking. It was a bar, and I don't really like that kind of thing because I can't get a craft cocktail there. And then he sent me another one that was like this beautiful oysteria that was, and he's like, we could go here or we could go there. And I liked that he sent me both options because who knows, maybe I am a more laid back girl that wants the bar, but maybe, but so I picked the other place, and I like guys that offer specific options and that you have a variety.
hell yeah. So it's leadership, but it's not like, what do you want to do tonight? It's like,
No.
I would love to do this or this. What are you in the mood for?
Yeah.
Great, love that. And so then that goes into number two is like the adaptability. And it sounds like he might have lost a little bit of points here because he wasn't reading you well enough. He wasn't intuitively connected to your energy or your emotions, as you talked about earlier. And so that by the end of the night, it was not really like a cohesive kind of like, as you said, like a magical experience of like us going from point A to point B. It was kind of like, okay, we did this, and now you're like trying to get at me, and it feels a little forced.
It did. It felt a little forced. And I actually think it shows, like, I'm not as good about it either because I do like, I like smoke weed and stuff. So I'm like, oh, come back. Let's hang out. Let's smoke more. Let's not end the fun.
Come back to my
But it's the
place.
point when you come back to the house that things can really unravel pretty
Mhm.
quickly, actually. And especially if you're not a guy that has really good self control. Self control is a very attractive quality.
Yeah, tell us about that, and tell us about how self-control ties into. I know this is something that we talked about when we spoke last about safety. So like self-control on the guy's end, which provides a level of safety for the woman. And what is that? And what
Yeah.
does that feel like? And what does that look like? And why does it work so well?
Yeah. So, well, if we let's date back to the prehistoric times. Now, we all know that like men are meant to be like the kind of safe providers. I see it also as like men are meant to be like a kind of strong pillar. The masculine energy, of course, genders are fluid and we do have more masculine women a lot. We have very feminine men. But like if a man has good control, that means that it doesn't mean you can't be vulnerable, but like you like things can get really crazy with the feminine spirit. Things can get really erratic. Like we get really upset. Like our emotions are all over the place. If a man is able to be secure and controlled with his own emotions, either physical or emotional, um, it sets a tone of safety, like for a woman to really like lean into. And that's kind of how I see like the feminine and masculine energies, the divine feminine and masculine, they're kind of like leaning into each other. But like a woman who feels super secured and supported is going to offer so much love and support. And also like a yin yang, like was just going to feed back into that man. The man's going to be pouring like, you know, and the whole thing is just so wholesome. And then, you know, it's much easier when you feel secure about the other person to also be working on yourself and to be secure with yourself because you're not like seeking that safety always outside of you. Like, first of all, you have some security.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah. So it's like a man who's secure in himself projects that security, and the woman sees it, and she gets the immediate subconscious message of like, I can be safe with this guy because he feels safe with himself.
Yeah, and that goes back to the initial attraction too. Like what is most attractive to women is usually confidence, but not like ego confidence, like just busting through, you know, but like, you know, like a man who's willing to just, you know, like be helpful right away or be and without like fear of, you know, looking like a simp or something or like, you know, the true vulnerability and true strength comes in like it's something that yeah, it's something that really comes through the self-love process. So really a super evolved man, like you could fake it till you make it as you're on your path to evolution too, but like a super evolved man is very attractive to a woman. And by that stage, most men are so, they have so many options that they're not even necessarily like looking for commitment or something like that. So it's a hard thing for women because we date a lot of guys that are just like not really even clear on their own paths because they're it's a lot. I feel like everybody is a little bit struggling to like or like with the focus of like bettering themselves, but I feel like women are still a little bit more evolved on a lot of levels than men,
Agreed.
especially in terms of emotional intelligence. But an under-evolved woman can be
Okay, so
wild.
you're dropping so many gems here. Thank you so much. Let's I might even have to take some notes here so we can not lose these things. But you talked about strength, vulnerability, and evolution as being three of the most attractive qualities. And then I want to match these up against like a non-evolved man versus an evolved man. But, you know, I think in a lot of guys' language, strength and vulnerability are diametrically opposed. So let's talk about like how you can embody both of those things. And I think in a lot of guys' language, like evolution is like, yeah, we used to be monkeys and we climbed down from trees, but like I think when you say it, you're talking about like a evolution of consciousness, correct? Cool. So I'd love to get.
evolution of evolution of consciousness, self-care, um like you know guys especially I feel like need like meditative practices and breath work. Like guys really resonate with this like upper um I don't know, like upper level body experience of like grounding down somehow. And women I feel like are somehow like grounding down more sensually when we like, but everybody just needs to slow down basically. Everybody needs to slow down and be in a more like centered and calm place. Like I heard something one time that like the most confident person in the room is the person who's breathing the most. So if you ever feel
I
really
love that.
nervous, yeah, if you ever like feel nervous, just you don't even have to know what you're doing, but they will literally feel your energy like lifting up. That's also like, you know, I work a lot with like attraction um and that's like a huge like way to just like attract positive energy to you, but that's going to come in all forms. It's going to be men, women, like all kind of people, you
It just
know.
makes you
But
more
yeah,
magnetic. Yeah.
yeah, it makes you more magnetic. So so
You heard
yeah,
it
and
here
then
first, folks. If you want to date beautiful women like Renee, all you got to do is breathe more. Slow down and breathe.
I do that on the dance floor sometimes when I'm like, you know, you get like awkward, you're just there, and I'm just like, you know what, just breathe. And then I start doing these kind of motions that feel more like, you know, like a breath, and it feels really good. And then people start to like look at me and they're like, oh yeah, like
Oh, okay, okay, get
yeah,
it,
yeah,
girl.
they're like feeling it. But yeah,
So
so and then
what about strength versus vulnerability, right? Because like I said,
yeah,
I think that a lot of guys might see this as opposite ends of the spectrum, and so they'll try so hard to like not show weakness, and it keeps them like just super rigid, right? Like you're not even acting like a person, like you're acting like a character, and I think that that turns
yeah,
well.
a lot of women feel like guys are being like fake or, and I've dated guys for years that like because they couldn't like express themselves to me safely because they weren't that secure within themselves and expressing their vulnerable emotions, they would like close up and bottle it all up. And then like, anytime we did have a discussion about feelings, it was like an explosion of, oh, well, I just don't feel secure about this and that and that. And that's just like, whoa, like emotions and things like we should be doing check-ins with each other regularly or with your friends for that matter. Vulnerability, there is a fine line because I've also done a lot of research on this too. And I do get it where, like, if a man is overly emotional with his girl, it's also not good because it's too much like relying on the woman to like mother. When I really feel like there should be a whole like host of people in your life, like a whole group, like at least 5 people that you can really trust, like if it's a
Mhm.
parent or a brother or a sister or a female cousin or a good bro friend that you should be able to open up to about certain things. And I think that can help to create that more secure sense of self so that when you come to your woman, you can just be that strong, secure person. And if you're feeling insecure about something with your woman, you can still express that too. I think it's better to express, like, do research on it though, like research how to express vulnerability or vulnerable emotions safely, or research how to, tell somebody like a difficult topic or something like that, and so that you're not like just crying and like freaking out. No,
100%.
like
Yeah,
none of
yeah,
that. I think women do lose a lot of respect for men when they're just a complete emotional mess. It's like, hey, like I'm supposed to be we can't just both be like super emotional. And it's hard because we get kind of put into these like female or
gendered
yeah,
boxes.
masculine, yeah, the
Yeah,
gender roles and everything, but I still am a little bit of a traditionalist. I do feel that they serve some purpose, but I
totally.
think a healthy relationship ends up being so balanced. Like I shouldn't have to feel like I can't do things for my partner because it's going to be too masculine, but if I feel safe to do it, like he's going to appreciate it, I'll step in and do the things like,
Yeah, hell
also
yeah.
that he wants.
So let's kind of ground this into, we've talked a lot about concepts and it's been wonderful. I'm sure that these guys are going to find this so valuable. But let's talk about like tangible examples. So for example number one, if a guy is feeling frustrated, for example, right? My boss is being a dick. I'm so frustrated about work. There's a big difference between the grounded man who gives himself permission to feel his emotions, coming home, I'd had a really frustrating day, like just give me an hour, let me go hit the gym, let me go for a walk, like and then we'll hang out, then we'll have dinner. Versus the ungrounded man who tries to be strong and push through it and is just like, I'll come home from work and now I'll, be here and I'll crack a beer to make sure that I don't have to feel my emotions and I'll do all this kind of stuff. So could you give us more examples in your experience of times when you experienced a man who was feeling his emotions and you're like, wow, I feel safe in this, versus, and these should be some juicy stories of like times when dudes flew off the deep end and you're like, wow, this is you clearly not giving yourself permission to experience your emotions. And now I feel completely unsafe.
Okay, so let me think. A time I felt really safe. See, this is hard because I don't know about a lot of these guys, but I haven't had very emotionally expressive partners, but I guess I'll say, okay, there's one person
Yikes.
that I had a good relationship with. We ended up being more friends, but but the thing that made me feel secure was like one time I was really upset with something that he did or said to um that seemed offensive. And so like I was calling him out on it. I was kind of giving him the riot act on it, like you did this, like up and down. And he was just like, he like took it and he like wasn't argumentative. He was like, yeah, I understand, or something like that, you know. But he like sat there quietly for a while and he just said to me, like, you know, I really don't see it this way. Or it might have been like 2 hours later. He was like, I really don't see it this way. Like, I just don't. And then I somehow had so much respect for him because he was just so calm the way he said that, rather than getting angry or like fighting me on it or anything like that. I was like, wow, first of all, you were in the doghouse with me. And then, but somehow you like came to me and just said this thing that was like so powerfully like diffusing of it all, because I just had more, I felt like I could trust his own word at that
Mm.
point, because I was like, wow, like I actually believe you. Like we don't see things the same way right now. And like it's not necessarily okay with me, but I like hell of respect the fact that you like have a different opinion now somehow.
I love that.
And
Kudos to that
yeah,
guy.
yeah, he was. That was good. But he sucked in so many other ways though. He wasn't romantic. We were just friendly. So, you know, but and then like other times, gosh, I'll just tell you this guy the other day that is a basket case. He started off as a client to me. This guy did everything wrong. He started off as a client to me, then he gave me his contact. Well, I thought he was attractive, so I actually, and he wasn't paying me anyway, really. It was like this app that I'm on that people pay for readings, but he was just messaging me for free about his partnership, blah blah blah. I was like coaching him through these things. Then I contacted him. Then he's basically like was coming on to me the whole time, and I established that like, hey, I'm here for you for emotional support, but like, you know. And then he like just he gets so emotional. He's called me crying, just like blubbering, like freaking out, like asked me to borrow money here and there. Like this
Yikes.
guy is completely crazy. And then he'll tell me like, you're my best friend. He calls me Athena because that's my name on that app. Athena, you're my best friend. Da, 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 da. I'm like, and he has a girlfriend. This is all too crazy, like the whole situation. And it gets deeper. Their whole relationship is messed up too. But like, I'm just like, this guy calls me the other day after we're friends, and he just like we've been friends. I've been okay with him, but I just got really upset with him the other day because he called me crying, freaking out that she stranded him on the beach just with all this drama, and had me send him like some money to get an Uber to her. I'm just like, what are you even thinking? Going out to a beach in the middle of nowhere with no money, $30 to your name. That is insane. Like I'm concerned about you. Anyway, so that kind of person is like a complete mess. I have practically no respect for him, and it's sad because he calls me his best friend, which I've told him like, your girlfriend shouldn't be your best friend. You need bros. You need other people in your life. Like you found me online as a psychic, but people are out there like very lonely, and I think they get delusional on their things. So don't be a crazy
Yeah.
emotional lonely
Don't
guy.
don't be
Get friends.
desperate.
Get
Don't
friends.
dump the emotions. Have the friends, have the support group so that you're not like falling all over everybody that you meet, et cetera, et cetera. So that guy, not a vibe. Okay, cool. So I think we're gonna have to do another episode at some point because we could talk about this all day, and it sounds like
Yeah.
you have just an infinite amount of stuff to say. But before we get out of here and we go into the conversation workshop that you guys will have to join the program to be a part of, we'll get to details on that some other time. Leave us on a high note. We don't want to get out of here talking about how much this guy fucked us up. Tell us about, so you said you moved to New York lately. Congratulations. I know that, you know, years ago, maybe 18 months ago, you talked about how that was your dream and you wanted to make connections with people who were like really doing stuff with your life. So you did it.
Yes.
We're all very proud of you. Congratulations. Tell
Thanks.
us about, and I apologize, I think it's a garbage truck coming up right now. Hopefully that's not as loud on your end as it is on mine.
No, I can't hear
Is
it
that loud? Oh, you don't even hear it? Sick.
at all. Yeah, that's crazy.
There's like this big ass truck just
Oh my
chugging
gosh.
up the lane.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, this is where we live.
Oh
Shout
my
out,
gosh. I love it. It
shout out
looks like
Woodinville,
places I've been at
Washington.
in
Shout out
Northern
Dr. Haley
California.
Heichman. You might even be able to see her back there. She's studying. Um, okay,
Aw.
but tell us, take us home on a high note. Tell us about one of the most fun, the most exciting, most beautiful dates that you've been on recently in New York City.
Okay. I'll tell you. Um, well, this one was just really fun and it did impress me. There's been a few, honestly. Like I bet some of them were like really nice, like where we went out to very nice places and had like a whole luxury experience, which I really love. But sometimes you just can't like, replace the magical quality. So we got really lucky one night. My this guy that took me out and just the whole magical experience of it made it a really good date. But we went to we had gone out the night before. We met up at a block party and my roommate came with me. So first of all, it was really fun because it was like my roommate and I, and then him and his friend, who was like this girl. She was very chill. And so we all hung out all day. So that was really fun. Then he slept over. Like it was a bad mistake on my part. Again, but like I let him stay over because like the whole thing fell apart. I'm obviously not dating him anymore. But I let him stay over. And then the next morning, he asked me if I wanted to go to brunch, which I also like. I think it's a very nice gesture. If the guy's going to spend the night at all, he offers to like take you to breakfast or whatever. So we went to brunch, but brunch ended up being his like traditional bar that he goes to on Sundays. So we went there, we like ate food, we drank, and like spent time with his friends. He had more friends coming, which I also thought was attractive because his friends were really chill. And I was like, wow, like that's so nice that they're all being like really cool with me. And like I can tell that he's a really likable guy. Like you can trust, the energy there. So that went well. And then one of his friends works at this club Mirage in Brooklyn that's very like it's not super high end specifically, but like the tickets, for this like event would have been like probably over $100. And it was the last night of this event, the 3-day thing, but he worked at Mirage. So his friend got us in and like we were on the fence about it. He was like, oh, should we go like somewhere else or should we go to this thing? Because that was going to be an all night. And so we finally went and it was just like fun, the whole spontaneous thing, energy of it, because on Sunday, like we just did all this stuff. But then his friend brought us to this place and it was like he brought us into the VIP. He got us in the VIP. So there we were, like at the back, like unexpected night, like at the back of Mirage, which I had gone there one time, but the tickets were $75 at 2 a.m. I was like, no. So then that night it was like perfect because I really wanted to go there. It was so beautiful and lit up. And we were at the back of the whole thing, just like raging. And like, we got food and drinks all night and it was just really a lot of fun. So
That's
that was cool. I
awesome.
was like, yes, this is what I came to Brooklyn for. Like,
Hell yeah. So just like super spontaneous. It was like 10 mini dates in one. So it wasn't
yeah,
just like
it
one
was.
long drug
It
out
was
thing.
a marathon.
And it was like, it had the whole gambit of like, he's got the social connection. So you're like getting into places. He's got friends. So he's like socially validated. You know that he's not, more of like a psychopath who doesn't have people in his life. You guys also got
Totally.
one-on-one time. So just like, it was one date that spanned like everything you could ask for at the beginning of a relationship.
And meanwhile, he was telling me, like, I want to take care of you. I'm going to buy you this air conditioner for your room, which was the only thing he ended up showing up with. Honestly, the guy ended up tanking after all of this. But he did show up with the aircon after I like cut him off like a week later. And he like showed up at like 10 in the morning, like, I got your air conditioner. And then it
Sick.
lasted another week, but then he fucked it all up again. So, but for a while it was really good. I loved that. He was telling me, I'll take care of you. I was like, okay. But you got to have follow through. You can't just be saying a bunch of shit.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's so
Yeah.
important. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. Well, thank you so much. Like I said, I think we're gonna have to get you back on here for another episode. And this has been
I would love that.
a great learning experience of like a lot of the times 30 minutes isn't enough to talk about such a broad and personal subject as dating. But again, thank you so much for being here, Anu. This has been wonderful talking to you. I'm sure that this has been super valuable for everybody watching it. And yeah, now we're going to transition over into the conversation workshop. So,
All right.
okay, perfect. So let me hit stop record on this.